Hey guys, welcome to Tech Best. ZUK Z2 VS LE MAX 2, both high-spec phones that at the time of making this video can be bought for about $200 US. Both have Snapdragon 820 processors, Adreno 530 graphics, 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. These are selling fast, so if you want to get one, there will be links in the description below. It's also worth mentioning that there is a version of the LE MAX 2 that has 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, but that one costs just under $300 US, which is also a great value buy. But the version that we have is the $200 one that has 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. So if you are looking to buy one of these two phones, which one should you get? Well, let's compare them so that you can make an informed decision. The version of the LE MAX 2 that we have is the one called X829. It came with a fast charger, a USB Type-C cable, a set of headphones, a 3.5mm headphone adapter, a case, and it also came with a factory-fitted screen protector. The ZUK Z2 came with a standard charger and a USB Type-C cable. Comparing the phones, obviously the first thing you are going to notice is the size difference. The ZUK has a smaller, more pocket-friendly 5-inch 1080p display, while the LE MAX has a larger 5.7-inch Quad HD display. Both are IPS with similar viewing angles and brightness, but the LE MAX 2 is sharper with over 510 pixels per inch versus roughly 440 pixels per inch on the Z2. And with that big screen, it makes it great for media consumption and gaming. But on the flip side, the ZUK's smaller screen means it is easier to use one-handed, and the lower resolution will also benefit battery life, which we'll talk about shortly. Now, the ZUK uses Gorilla Glass, while the Le Echo doesn't, but at least it already came with a screen protector fitted. When it comes to performance, there isn't any real significant difference between them. For example, in Antutu they score roughly the same, and both are capable of rivaling the speed of much more expensive phones. So things like high-end 3D gaming won't be an issue for either one. The LE MAX 2 has a solid metal build, while the ZUK has a glass body which loves to attract fingerprints. Speaking of fingerprints, we have a fingerprint reader here on the back of the LE MAX 2. Now, some LE MAX 2 users have complained of their fingerprint readers dying. Now, our one is still working perfectly fine, but it is something to be aware of. The ZUK Z2 has its fingerprint reader on the front, built into the home button. Also, this home button does extra duty as the navigation buttons depending on how you tap, press or hold it. For example, a single click returns you to the home screen, while a double click brings up the multitasking menu. Now, you can modify these in the settings if you want. The LE MAX 2 uses more traditional backlit navigation buttons. Both phones have USB Type-C with Quick Charge 3.0, but as mentioned before, only the LE MAX 2 came with a fast charger. Both phones are unlocked and have dual nano SIMs. Now, if you want to know if these phones will work with your network carrier, there will be a link in the description for where you can check this. The LE MAX 2 is about 0.5 mm thinner than the Z2, but then again the Z2 has a larger battery, 3,500 mAh versus 3,100 mAh, and it also does not have a camera hump. Speaking of cameras, we have a 21 megapixel camera on the LE MAX 2 and a 13 megapixel camera on the Z2. Now, both can do 4K video and both have 8 megapixel front cameras, but between these two though, if you need a good camera, the LE MAX 2 is the one that I would recommend. It has more resolve detail, better low light quality, and in videos the audio is louder and clearer. The only time the ZUK bettered the LE MAX 2 was in video image stabilization. So I'm not talking about photo image stabilization here, just video image stabilization. So in everything else, the LE MAX 2 was better. Now, when it comes to battery life, the ZUK Z2 is the winner, as you'd expect. With a smaller, lower resolution display and a larger battery, you'll get about a day and a half of battery life with moderate usage, while the LE MAX 2 will get about a day of use. Now, the LE MAX 2 does have an IR blaster, but it does not have a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you'll need to use Bluetooth headphones, or you'll have to use the included adapter. The ZUK Z2 didn't come bundled with any headphones, but it does have a headphone jack, so you can use virtually any headphones without the need for an adapter. Now, I tested sound quality using a pair of Bose QC25s, and the LE MAX 2 delivers slightly better all-round audio quality. It was also slightly louder. External speaker quality on both is pretty average, and neither delivers anything special, but the LE MAX 2 again was slightly louder. Both phones run Android 6, but we have different skins with one called ZUI on the ZUK and EUI on the LE MAX. Now both differ from stock Android. For example, there is no app drawer, and neither have quick toggles in the notification shade. To get to the toggles on the ZUK you have to slide up from the bottom, and on the LE MAX you get to them using the multitask button. Between the two, ZUI is my least favorite. It feels a bit more limited. For example, changing the wallpaper only changes the boxed thumbnail on the lock screen. You don't actually get to see the wallpaper as a background. Thankfully though, this is Android, so it can easily be changed, but in stock form, ZUI feels more restrictive. So let's sum this up. Both perform roughly the same, but the LE MAX 2 has the better screen, better cameras, slightly better audio. It also has an IR blaster, but it lacks a 3.5mm audio jack. Also, both phones do not have micro SD support. The ZUK Z2 on the other hand is more pocket friendly, it has better battery life, and it has a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now I'll leave voting options in the comment section below. Let me know which one you like best. And on a side note, if you like the LE MAX 2 but you don't like the idea of having to use a headphone adapter, you could consider getting Bluetooth earphones. For an affordable pair, I recommend these, the Meizu EP51s, which cost about $30 US. They have great build quality and sound. Check out my review on these, and for some truly wireless buds, check out my review on the Syllable D900 Minis. They don't sound quite as good, but they still offer good value. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one.